Thank you very much for staying with us here on Newsfile. My name is Mensah, and my guests are seated. I have with me Alexander Fenyo-Markin, who is MP for Futu, a member of the Public Accounts and Defense and Interior Committees of Parliament, but also on the Finance Committee, correct? If I'm not mistaken? No, okay, no more, okay. Because later on, we try to see if we can, touch on what we are fearing could be an increase in VAT, and so we are hoping that your background in that area, as far as Parliament is concerned, could help us. Because
mischief.
So later on we'll touch on that. That emerged yesterday, and a lot has been said about it as we await the mid-year review of the budget. Also with us today is Fenyo-Markin's colleague and former Roads Minister Inusa Fuseni. This week he's had a lot to say after the president said he could simply not sleep on the roads that he attempted to work on. It was too, as the president put it, blue for him to sleep. It's just too bumpy. He joins us in the studio. He's MP for Tamale Central, ranking member of Legal Constitutional Affairs. Mr. Fuseni, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Evans.
Great. Also with us is private legal practitioner, a man who has been on the Supreme Court many times and has shaped our jurisprudence quite significantly with some of the cases that he had pursued. Martin Kwebu, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, our regular analyst, Abdul Malik Kwekubako, who is at the Supreme Court, challenging the removal of the EC chairperson, Madam Charlotte Say, is with us also. We'll be discussing that a bit later. But, gentlemen, I want us to start with the sad news, the sad passing of a great statesman, J.H. Mensah. And I guess, as a young journalist starting, he was one of those people that you look forward to talking to because of what he did as a member of parliament and what he did for the NPP. He's a founding member of the party, but he did so much, not only for the party, but for the people he represented in the Bono-Ahafo region. Alex, let me start with you. I mean, some ways describe you as a latter-day MPP. If you compare yourself to, say, a J.H. Mensah.
No, I agree.
A J.H. Mensah. I mean, how do you remember the man?
Well, as a student, watching him from afar, he was an inspiration. I remember those days in secondary school, there was this newspaper publication, J.H. Waboda Mensah. And he also responded, J.H. Maboda Mensah. It's a graphic front page story on issues about Ghanaian politics. When we came into the 1992 constitution, they were the people who had the experience, the history of the Ghanaian politics, and they could speak with authority. And he stood tall among his colleagues. He became the primus, and eventually the minority leader. Of course, because of his level of knowledge, perhaps people didn't see him sharing much because he sees himself as an authority. Yeah. So you must learn from him. So it is not for him to tap into what you have. You must tap into what he has. And we enjoyed his debates. Sometimes I go into the Hansard just to read about what his contributions and all that. We're watching him on television, and that energy he had in our Ghanaian politics. It is unfortunate, of course, but it's a necessary end. Someone would say that death is a grand level of all human greatness.
Yeah.
So you get to a point you must give up, and he's giving up gloriously. One important thing that Right Honorable Doa Jaho told us when we entered Parliament, and that point was later re-echoed by another senior colleague. Ajaho told us that when they were in Parliament and JH and Co were debating issues, there came a time that they thought that the politics was all about NDC MPP. Then the old man will call them and say, hey, young men, come. That is for the floor. Now there's a whiskey here, there's a wine here. Let's, make merry. Let's have pleasure. That is the beauty of democracy. I think Ajaho said that is what changed his perception on a lot of things in politics. That after all, it is not about the banter, the enmity, but create a relationship. So if for nothing at all, behind the scenes, he was one person who understood the politics of let's debate on principles, ideological differences, but let's maintain relationship. At least that he made sure those opponents around him appreciated the fact that beyond the NDC MPP, there is a bigger Ghana, the Ghanaian dream that we must all aspire to make it a living reality. Therefore, build a relationship. And I think eventually, Papa Usuan Kuma and others, somebody like Dr. Okoto say, I remember in our time, I mean, first term, you'll be debating, once you try to get personal, he will call you and say, hey, Alex, you know, you people respect your colleagues on the other side. And I think that is what is keeping Parliament going. And that is what I expect all others who would want to see our democracy grow to respect relationship and have in mind that, yes, we are debating, we are throwing jabs here and there, but the bottom line is the Ghanaian dream. And I would want J.H. Mensah to be remembered for what he stood for in terms of relationship, in political engagement, that creating friendship, building bridges, and not antagonizing ourselves just because we disagree on ideology or we disagree on a certain policy direction in our partisan politics.
Yeah. Mr. Fuseni, did you meet him in Parliament?
Yes, I was privileged to have met J.H. Mensah in Parliament. And Evans, let me express my deep-found condolences to the family of J.H. Mensah, the former president, Kofo, who is an in-law to J.H. Mensah.
Yes.
The people of Brown Half region, and Ghanaians at large, including myself, for the loss of an icon like J.H. Mensah. J.H. Mensah was a man of many parts. I do not know who suggested the name Patriotic to the new Patriotic Party, but I believe if he didn't bring up the idea, he contributed to determining the name Patriotic for the new Patriotic Party. Because, Evans, J.H. Mensah was once upon a time during the British colonial rule a tax inspector in this country. Meaning, even as a young man, the British found him capable of organizing taxation.
I must have been very young.
Very, very young. Yes. Now, J.H. Mensah has been an unrepentant liberal Democrat. But President Nkrumah found him worthy of helping in writing his 7-year development plan.
Yeah.
He came into Parliament in 1969 and he was made the Minister of Finance, that time the youngest in this country. Again, J.H. Mensah has helped in the consolidation of our fourth democracy, our fourth attempt at democracy. He sent many cases to the Supreme Court for determination. Yes, like he has said, I mean, J.H. Mensah has been and will continue to be an inspiration to the present generation of politicians, and especially members of Parliament, and the future generations of politicians and members of Parliament, because his legend is well written in the Hansard of parliamentary practice in Ghana. And so, we have lost an icon. You see, death will come when it will come. We were shocked at his death because we expected that nature will have some mercy on him and let us continue to drink from his foundation of wisdom. We knew he was old and we knew he has been around for some time. But we least expected him to die now. But death will come when it must come, like Shakespeare said. All we can say now is to say, J.H. Mensah, Demerifa, J. Thank you.
Our condolences. You are a lawyer,
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure you would have encountered him either through reading,
Yes, exactly.
or I don't know, somebody
Yes.
telling you about his exploits.
Yes, so definitely there's no way a person would go through law school and
not hear
read
JH.
the famous JH Mensah Attorney General. You know, that involved a case in which when the NDC were done with their first term and then they went into the second, the question was whether the ministers had to go through parliamentary vetting and that, and also, you know, so he took it to court, and the court had to consider everything. And so it's such a seminal case in constitutional law in Ghana, because even amongst one of the issues they had to determine was, I know when the Attorney General sought to say that, oh, this people had been vetted already, one question was that, so when the NDC won the first election, even the president was sworn in for a 4-year term. If you're saying that these persons should not go through vetting again, does it mean that for the ministers, they don't have a 4-year term? You see, when you look at the constitution, it doesn't spell out that the ministers have a 4-year term. It says the president shall appoint. So that was one of the issues too that the case helped to resolve. No, if your boss is going, you too,
you have to go.
Exactly. Though it looked like common sense, yet that was an argument that was.
Do you remember the lawyers who conducted the case?
Oh, no, maybe I should have looked at it this morning. There's a way. That's why I brought my laptop. When you go around, I'll check.
You check.
Yes. Yes, but of course, you know these cases is usually the usual suspect, Nana Akufo-Addo, Peter Alajete, but I'll just double check.
No, you check. What
he has checked, he has confirmed.
That is what he wanted you to say.
Okay.
He was baiting you to say, and you said it.
Yeah, they were usual suspects.
Yes.
But you must add it
because J.H. Mensah and Nana Akufo-Addo always went together in terms of the country.
The history must be well told, complete.
Did they have anything to do also with the Public Order Act, that clause that said you simply have to notify the police and not sort of seek their permission? I don't know whether the two of them, the two suspects, the same two suspects had anything to do with that.
Yes, Nana definitely was involved, but because JH wasn't the lawyer, so I would presume that he contributed in the background. But the case, that one is MPP versus IGP.
Okay.
Yes, under the previous law, you needed police permission, but we had a new law where under the Public Order Act, you didn't have to seek that permission. I'm sure as for Uncle Kukuba, he's champion of
all
that.
political parties.
Yes, and the people GBC. Yes. So there are quite a number of seminar cases. That.
Which one do you remember him most for?
So it's the one that had his own footprint on it. That's the J.H. Mensah versus Attorney General. So that's the one that resolved the issue about going back for vetting again. And then also a minister's tenure of office ends. Yes, exactly. With the ending of the office of his own boss. That's the president. Because the executive power belongs to the president. So, and he appoints the ministers to help. So when the president's power is finished, the ministers want to automatically come to an end.
All other appointees.
Exactly. So the ministers go with the president. So if the president, that person wins again as president and comes back, then you come again for round 2 of the vetting in Parliament.
If Evans, and that has actually found expression in the Presidential Transition Act.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you see how the ramifications of that decision
exactly.
and the contribution of J.H. Mensah into the consolidation of our democracy.
Yes, so he's done such a marvelous job, marvelous, and I'm sure for the economics and the history of it. Yes.
We're waiting for you.
The general.
Now that you're here, can I describe him as a good friend of yours?
Of course, a senior good friend. Senior by far. But somebody very receptive in dealing with people far below him intellectually, politically, or even age-wise. And that's what made him a great guy. I hope his family doesn't mind me using the word guy, because he was close to us. We worked together. Of course, this is a man who goes back. You hear a lot of people talk about the 7-year development plan of Kwame Nkrumah. And the only thing, I saw a little error in terms of timelines on your station, say 62 to 69. That was not correct, factually. That 7-year development plan was 64 to 71, but it was truncated by the coup d'etat of 1966. But the fact that he was part of those who helped to craft it is undeniable. So that is the key point, really, the substance of the issue. And people tend to forget he's been an agitator, was a fighter for democratic restoration. People have forgotten something. In 1975, on 24th November, he was sentenced to 8 years imprisonment by an Accra Special Court for sedition.
I see.
That animal we repealed somewhere 2001 July through Parliament, the criminal libel seditious law. He, together with ICQ and then one Mr. Karikari, they were jailed for sedition. This was because he had issued a document that was calling on Ghanaians to stand up and fight for their rights, and also painting a picture, a very gloomy picture, which was factual, of the state of the economy. Inflation here, inflation there, inflation everywhere. Of course, the state prosecution didn't agree with him, the court didn't agree with him. So he ended up being jailed for 8 years. Somewhere along the line, you know, the dynamics of our politics changed, so he didn't spend the 8 years in there.
Do you know how long he spent?
I think about 2 or so, or should it be? I have to double check that one. But I know the 8 years one was November 24th, 1975, by an Accra Special Court. You know, beyond that, again, when the PNDC was here, he was one of those who were in exile as our leaders, you know, and he was part of the campaign for democracy in Ghana and other groups that were formed in exile. You remember the famous, if you like, some would say infamous, but I think Nobista affair.
Yeah.
He continuously was in touch with the local network and insisting on the need for us to keep our resolve and to restore constitutional rule, you know. So, and then when he came back, even in before he became a minister, there was an incident where the U.S. embassy denied him a visa, if you remember.
I see.
Yes, and the people were teasing him and things. This thing about the retained minister thing, which is significant, it was bashed left, right, and center, you know. But today, you see, all of us
across the hands out in Parliament where he was upset that people were trivializing the matter.
Yeah, yes, and bashed left, right, center, and seen as a subversive element, even though he was using the court, the highest court of the land, to litigate that issue. And look, that thing brought about more transparency in the vetting process. It made ministers who had been appointed earlier exiting, not their judgment, their stewardship rather, to be brought to scrutiny. Okay, because the idea was, look, once you were retained, which was an alien concept, retention, the Constitution didn't know anything about retention, you know, it knew about appointment. And he led the boycott from Parliament because Kwame Pepra came to present the budget and all the rest. You know, he's a great personality and did so well. For some of us, the younger generation, we got closer and closer to him in the course of the Great Alliance project. The first time having the CPP and the UP elements coming together to constitute an alliance for election, I think election 1996. Yes, I remember it's election 1996. And he was very instrumental, sometimes very difficult to handle. Yeah.
How difficult?
There was one area that created a lot of problems. You know, the question of Ayawaso, then I think it was Ayawaso Central. ICQ versus Kwesi Pratt, both of them being Great Alliance, people with high profile and all the rest. And strictly speaking, officially, Kwesi Pratt was the one chosen at the Alliance meeting, the leadership meeting, to be our candidate there.
Kwesi Pratt Jr., the same
Kwesi Pratt Jr.? Yeah, he was, yes. And what I'm saying is documented. I have the minutes of that particular meeting. It looked okay, and Kwesi was supposed to go ahead. But subsequently, the UP elements, led by him, thought that, look, if you did a proper analysis, ICQ had more chance of winning in that constituency. And so instead of him being the backer of Kwesi, Kwesi should rather back him. And we divided on that score. Okay. Kwesi ran, Scenario ran, ICQ ran, and ICQ won overwhelmingly. So perhaps post the issue, the vindication was clear on his side, you know. But beyond that,
never knew Kwesi Pratt had run as a candidate.
Yeah,
no, he did.
Yeah, the time before the Great Alliance.
So he's just one. We'll miss him. I have to be very honest. We'll miss him because of He comes with sober, understanding of issues. He has a history, big mind. It's a storehouse of Ghanaian history. So we'll miss him a lot. Yeah. I express my condolences to the family, to all Ghanaians, and I hope we give him a befitting state burial. He deserves it, maybe more than deserves it.
Yeah. We have 2 state burials then that we can look forward to. Sadly, former Vice President and also now J.H. Mensah, our condolences go to them. Our condolences also go to the family of Professor Tukuyo Kai, who also passed a few days ago. So great poet, great lecturer. I encountered him a few months back when the Pan-African group met in Accra. And so, yeah, of course, condolences to all these families. You're still listening to Newsfile. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. It's on the JoyNews channel on Multi TV. You can find it on DSTV channel 421. Samson, by the way, is chilling at home today. He'll be back next week, and so look forward to him.